Well, I'm in my new fish room this morning. I moved my last tank yesterday, so I'm happy to report that my back's not too sore and I haven't lost any fish. It's been less than 24 hours since the last tank was brought over, but so far so good. I wanted to talk today about a podcast I like. It's called the Aquarist podcast. It's a podcast by Randy Reed, and if you follow Aquarium Co YouTube channel, you probably know who Randy Reed is. Randy Reed works for Aquarium Co. Now, when he started his podcast, he was not working for Aquarium Co. Randy has probably 100 episodes on his podcast. And the podcast is he interviews people in fish keeping. Now, they may be the hobbyists or educators, wholesalers, breeders, just all sorts of people, like I say 100 episodes, dealing with fish. But one of the questions that Randy usually asks in every interview that I love is he asks how they got into fish, how they got into fish keeping. And I love that question. Y'all comment down below and write what age you were when you got into fish keeping, or maybe just a couple of words telling me how you got into fish keeping. Well, when I was 8 years old, my sister got a fish tank, and so I guess that's what introduced me. I know it is what introduced me to fish tanks. She saved S&H green stamps so she could get a fish tank. And if you guys may not know what S&H green stamps are, but in the 70s, when your mom or dad would go buy groceries, some of the grocery stores would give you green stamps. Depending on how much money you spent in the store, you got some green stamps. And you would save these stamps and you would put them in a little book. You would literally go home and have to lick the backs of them or wet the backs of them and put them in these little books. And you had to save enough books for different gifts. And there was a catalog that you could pick up in the grocery store with these things you could wish for. I think it was called the Idea Book. And you could look in there and pick out something you wanted, and then you could save up that many books and go redeem them at a stamp redemption center. So my sister did that. And gosh, I was 8, so she must have been maybe 11. But she gathered up those green stamps that my mom and dad had gotten from buying groceries and put them in the books. And my mom carried us down to the stamp redemption center. I remember it very well that day. It was so exciting in my household for her to get that aquarium. And she was really a very good aquascaper. I didn't know what aquascaping was back then, but to be 11 years old, she did a great job. She had orange and yellow gravel, but she did a yellow brick road, this curvy path diagonally in the bottom of that 10-gallon aquarium, and then the orange gravel on either side of that path. It was really cute. She had live plants. She went to, I think it was TG&Y. That's a store that we had back then. They had live plants and live fish. And I think she probably bought one of those of fish. And then, but of plants, I know she bought a banana plant and maybe one other kind of plant. But, we didn't have internet back then, and we didn't have Aquarium Co-op videos to watch and learn how to set up a fish tank. So she did the best she could. I think it was just trial and error, I guess I should say. And she figured out what fish could go together. And I think when it was all said and done, pretty much all she had was guppies. I think guppies were she had the most success raising guppies. Of course, when we got to be teenagers and then off to college, we quit having a fish tank and forgot about fish tanks for many, many years. But now both of us have fish tanks in our homes. Well, that's my story, how I got into fish keeping. So really, seriously, comment down below and let me know how you got into fish keeping. But more importantly, what I wanted to talk about was Randy Reed and his podcast called the Aquarist Podcast. If you're interested in listening to some fish talk, check out his podcast. I think you'll really like it. Well, until next time, bye.